Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me tonight. I'm happy to present Indecision, People Pleasing, and Self-Confidence to you. The majority of the group tonight is part of the American Society of Civil Engineers, but we've also got other people, and they're coming in from all over the world. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. My name is Gina Covarrubias. I'm an engineering life coach. And in a minute during my intro, I'll get more into my background and what it is I do exactly. The name of my business is called Deliberate Doing. Here is a quick outline of what I'm going to talk about tonight. After a brief intro, I'm going to talk to you about indecision and people pleasing and self-confidence. And in section 4, I'm going to introduce a really great, useful self-awareness tool that you can use on yourself at any point in time. And I'll wrap it all up with a great conclusion for you. And I really like this picture here because by the time I'm done with tonight's presentation, your brain is going to be sweating. So I really hope you could be present and tune in and try to absorb as much as you can. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you tonight. And it's okay if you don't get everything right away. That's why I'm recording, and the replay will be available. But essentially, as a life coach, what I do is I'm a personal trainer for the mind. So I give people a mind workout. Let's start with a little bit of background about me and why I'm here. I'm an aerospace engineer. I graduated from Purdue University. I also have a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I spent approximately 15 years in the aerospace industry, and most of that was corporate, but some of it was also academia and government. Currently, I am a certified life coach. And let me tell you, this was not the career path that I thought I was going to take. I thought I was going to graduate as an engineer and work as a happy engineer for the rest of my life and possibly get into other areas, maybe finance, maybe business, maybe human resources. But about 10 years ago, I was so stressed out over my career and so stressed out over some of the things that were happening that my health just took a dive. And let me tell you, I was out of work for several months. And after a very long recovery, and it took a few years, I got back into working and I started thinking about me and my strengths and my purpose in life and what is it I'm supposed to be doing, and do I really belong here? And I decided the answer was no, I don't really belong here. There's something bigger and better I need to be doing with myself. And since I had recovered from a traumatic health experience, I thought I had been given a second chance and I really want to make it count. Hence, my business, Deliberate Doing, was created. I'm a life coach for the STEM professional. And specifically, what I do is I help STEM professionals strategize a solution for themselves when they feel career stress, whether it's disappointment, whether it's confusion, whether it's I kind of sort of like what I'm doing, but I don't know what I want to do next, whether it's I don't like what I'm doing and I really don't know what I want to do next, or maybe the career so far is just okay. Maybe it's just mediocre and they want to know how to make it fantastic. So that is the type of person that I specifically help as an engineering life coach. So tonight I'm happy to share a lot of life coaching tips and tools and tricks to help you in your day-to-day. The second part of my introduction sets the tone for tonight's presentation. So this is a really important slide. Life coaching is a cognitive behavioral technique. So there's a lot of cognitive science behind it and some positive psychology as well. And the premise, in a nutshell, the premise behind life coaching is that our thinking or our thoughts and our beliefs propagate our behaviors. Okay, so we behave based on the things that we think. Very simple. That's why it's good for you to know what you're thinking. And that's what I help people do, is I help them understand what they're thinking. Now, there are two ways in general that we experience our surroundings. Number one is sensations. So sensations start on the body or in the body, and they travel up to the brain for processing. Unlike perceptions or interpretations, what happens is you have the external world and you have things going on around you, and the brain has to interpret what's going on around you. And we call those thoughts or beliefs. So what life coaching does is it helps you unravel your perceptions or misperceptions of the world around you. It is a self-reflection practice that strengthens your mental wellness and your mental well-being. So typically, when I work with individuals, it's a long process. It takes place over the course of several weeks, just like if you were to go to a gym and hire a personal trainer, right? They're going to help you get to your goal. I do the same thing. It's just a mental goal. Now, let's dive into indecision. I've got a couple slides here about indecision. Why is it so easy to be indecisive? Why is it so hard to make decisions sometimes? 3 reasons here. Number one, because it's an indulgence for us. Like this wonderful chocolate cake that seems to be steaming hot. Okay, we don't think of indecision as an indulgence, but an indulgence is something that makes us feel good. It's something that feels comfortable. It's familiar. Number two, safety. If we don't make decisions and if we keep telling ourselves, I don't know what to do and I'm confused, it allows us to avoid risk. And after we make a decision, we have to take action. We have to actually go out and do something. So sometimes it feels safer and more comfortable to just say, I'd rather be confused, or I really don't know what to do, or I can't decide. And then number 3, the third decision, why we're so indecisive sometimes is because the way we've been brought up, our belief systems dictate that decisions are either right or wrong. We grow up in a society that tells us you better make the right choice or you better make the best choice. And that puts us on a path of, well, am I making the right choice? Am I not? Let me analyze everything and let me look at all the pros and cons. Okay, so these are some reasons why we're so indecisive. What are the consequences of this indecision? Well, number one, artificial feelings. It feels better to remain in the discomfort of confusion than the discomfort of risk and responsibility. So again, it's about indulgence. Number two, indecision causes debt in our brain. It takes up real estate space in the brain, which prevents you from being productive. It prevents you from doing things that you could be actually creating good results over. It's as if your brain is on a treadmill. So you keep revisiting unmade decisions and you burn energy and you don't produce anything. And some of the ways we do that is we say, well, maybe if I do this, well, it's possible I could do that, but I don't know, what if this, what if that? The what ifs could really add up quickly, right? And fear of missing out. Sometimes we don't want to make a decision because we're so afraid of missing out on other things. Your brain will burn out before you make a decision. Okay, that's one of the biggest consequences of indecision. So let's talk about what a decision actually looks like. Well, first of all, it's a commitment, okay? You continue to want your decision after you make it, and you own it with full intent to follow through. It's a 100% commitment. There is no looking back. There's no second guessing. There's only working toward and looking toward the future after you make a decision. Number 3, you announce it and or you live it. You breathe it. You sleep it. Now, if it's a very personal decision, if it has to do with your health, let's say, and you don't want to actually announce it, that's okay. That's okay. But again, live it, own it, embrace it. And just a question here at the bottom for you to think about for yourself. What are some decisions, or what is a major decision you've done in your life in secrecy? What are some things you've done that you didn't announce and you didn't want to tell people because you were afraid? Now let's talk about a couple of indecision tools. Number one, if you are undecided about something, you could ask yourself, let's see, if all my choices give me amazing positive results, which choice would I prefer? Or you could ask yourself, what if I'm either winning here or learning? Number two, always make major decisions from a positive headspace. Don't expect to get good results when you make a decision from a negative feeling, such as you're trying to run away from something, such as feeling frustrated or bitter or resentful. Those are what we refer to sometimes as emotional decisions. And then number three, and this is a big one, your decision that you end up making is not nearly as important as who you become while executing that decision. So learning and growing and failing forward and rising above, those are the reasons we live. That's our purpose here on earth. Okay. So who are you becoming after you make that decision? As long as you're learning and growing and you're evolving and you're learning how to fail, that's what it's all about. But sometimes this gets obstructed because we're so concerned about people pleasing. So another word for people pleasing is approval seeking. So starting at the top here, what I'm explaining is that society teaches you to seek approval. We have been brought up to seek approval from our teachers and our parents and our adults and our babysitters and on, and our professors. If we're always seeking approval from other people, we could be living an exhausting life of depending on other people to approve of us. No, it's not anyone's job or duty to give you approval. That's nobody's job except your own. And I want to make it clear here that if you're at work and your boss or a colleague disapproves of something you did at work or of some of your output, of something you produced, that's a very different scenario than them disapproving of you as a person. So there's your output, there's what you produce, and then there's you as a person. Two very, very different things. Part of your boss's job is to evaluate your output and give you feedback and let you know how it needs to be changed or what could be improved. So don't take it personally if somebody criticizes your work. So the other thing I like to refer to people pleasing as is the act of trying to control. So it's an attempt to manipulate other people's thoughts. And we never really know what other people are thinking. Even if they verbalize, we still really don't know what's going on in other people's minds. So if you act a certain way to try to please somebody else, what you're actually doing is changing the way you think about what they're thinking. So what I want you to know here from this slide is that you cannot control what other people think of you. So stop trying to control what others think. But what I do want you to know is that you can influence. It is very possible for you to influence what other people think of you. So starting at the top, if you want to be more liked, you really have to like yourself first. That's where it starts. If you want respect, if you want love, if you want the things that you want, it starts inside with you. I am hearing some feedback from somebody. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Okay. So if you want to influence other people, it starts with you. It starts internally. And the takeaway from the first part of the slide here is that other people will treat you based on the way they see you treating yourself. So you have to go out there and treat I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You have to go out into the world and teach other people the way you should be treated. Now, the bottom part, it is not up to you if somebody likes you. That is not your call. It's not your call. That is up to their own personal experiences, their own opinions. That is up to the lens through which they see the world around them. And that's why I love this picture on this slide so much. Everybody has their own lens that they see the world through. They may or may not like you, and that's okay. It's totally okay. It also depends on their own self-worth. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, hurt people hurt people. When people who are hurting and suffering hurt other people, it's because they're suffering inside. It's coming internally. So what I want you to know here from this slide is that other people's opinions about you are really not about you. They're really not. So let's talk about what self-confidence actually is. What does it actually look like? This is one of my favorite definitions of self-confidence. The willingness to feel any emotion at all, including the horrible ones here that we don't want to feel, that we try to run away from, like shame or humiliation or the guilt, the fear, being uncomfortable, and all the other things that go along. Okay, I could have listed many more. If you could be willing to embrace these negative emotions and actually feel them instead of resisting or running away, your whole world of opportunity will open up for you. And toward the bottom here, what I want you to know is that the more self-confidence you actually have, the more you're going to evolve and produce and thrive, and the more you're going to make an impact in the world. Now, I put this picture here specifically as a personal example. So I'm standing here today. I am teaching you as an engineering life coach, and I'm helping you and sharing my slides and my tips. And what I want you to know is that a couple of years ago, I would have never have done this. I used to be the kind of person who just wanted to be in the background. I was an introvert. I didn't really care to network. I just wanted to do my job and just kind of stay in the background and stay comfortable and not have to stretch myself too much. I did not like presenting at all. And if you told me a few years ago I was going to be on LinkedIn, actually networking with people, I would have said, no way, not me. If you would have told me a few years ago, Gina, you're going to be creating videos and putting yourself out there on YouTube for the world to see, I would have said, no way, not me. I'm not doing it. I have had to push myself. I have had to work on my self-confidence. I have had to evolve and grow and fail forward in order to be here, recording myself, speaking to you today. So I am an example of what's possible. And I will also tell you, while this looks very easy, I work on my self-confidence every day. I'm still working at it, and it's going to be a journey. It's never going to be a destination. Let's talk about how you might possibly gain more self-confidence for yourself. Number one, dare yourself to do one uncomfortable thing every day. Something small. You could start really small. Here's a silly example. Go to the next restaurant or coffee shop, wherever you go to, and just ask them, hey, can I get this for free? Can I get this on the house? It's uncomfortable, it's silly, but just do it. Just do it. That leads to number two, pursue an activity that actually sets you up to fail. Okay, it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, the more you learn how to fail, the more successful you're going to be. Number three, be interested in other people. Stop trying to be so interesting. Stop trying to talk about yourself so much and let other people talk about themselves. And you'll see how how that dynamic turns into, after they get out what they want to say about themselves, then they'll be interested in you. The next one, live your life from a mental space of how can I serve? How can I help? What can I do to this situation? What can I do to improve this situation? Sometimes it's very easy in the workplace, especially, to be intimidated, to be afraid to speak up, to be afraid to speak your mind. And if you could instead kind of reframe that and think of it in terms of, what can I contribute? How can I help right now? What is it I need to say that would help the situation? Perhaps that will help you gain some self-confidence. The next one is, you're doing all of humanity a disservice when you play small. When we want to stay comfortable, when we want to stay in this little bubble, we're not able to tap into all of our strengths and capabilities. Okay, so that's why we need to keep pushing ourselves and evolving and failing forward and facing fear. The next one, analyze your mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes, right? We're all going to do silly things. We're all going to have screw ups. Analyze yourself with curiosity. Don't beat yourself up. Don't self-judge. And what that looks like is, for example, why did I do that? How could I have been so stupid? I should have known better. And on, right? We like to do that to ourselves, and it does us no good. There's no upside. Instead, ask yourself, I wonder why I did that. I wonder what I was thinking at the time. And the last one, and this is a biggie, you have to be willing to disappoint other people in your life if you want to like yourself. If you want to stay true to yourself and stay true to who you are, that might mean disappointing other people, which leads to this wonderful quote here at the bottom that I love. You can be the juiciest peach in the world, but there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like peaches. And if somebody doesn't like you and you're being who you want to be, it's okay. They're not your kind. They're not your kind. That's all. And that happens to all of us. Now let's talk about the STEER emotional framework. And I want you to start by looking at the picture here. This is very basic cognitive science here. And this is telling us that our thoughts create our feelings inside of us. And then our feelings fuel our actions. Or according to the picture, our feelings create our behaviors. And the behaviors reinforce what we're thinking. So that's exactly what this STEER emotional framework is explaining to you. So starting at the top, S stands for situations. Situations are all of the externals around us. Okay, that includes other people, like your boss and your colleagues. That includes your job, it includes your finances, and all the things out there that you cannot control. So situations out there prompt your brain to think thoughts. And going back to what I said at the beginning, we call those interpretations, perceptions, or beliefs. Your thoughts generate your emotion or energy inside of you, and that fuels your actions or your behaviors to create all of your reality. So if you look at all of the actions you take, including your inactions, that creates your reality for you. So a question here I want you to think about, and you don't have to type it into the chat because we have too many people to be able to read all the answers, but I want you to think briefly to yourself. What would you think if you were part of an organization or a working group and they had a social and they didn't invite you to it? So what would be the first thing that comes to your mind? What I'm going to do over the course of the next 2 slides, I'm going to walk you through this STEER emotional framework. And I'm going to offer you 2 different scenarios. And the difference between the scenarios is that the thoughts are going to be different. So the situation remains the same. You were not invited. That's the situation. It's a fact. You could interpret that many different ways. Let's look at the first interpretation. You could think to yourself, I wonder if they like me. I wonder if they really like me. I wonder what they really think about me. from that thought, from that belief, that will probably cause you to feel some paranoia, some anxiety, maybe some stress. From that kind of energy, what are the things you're going to do? What kind of actions are you going to take from that energy? I listed a couple examples here. You're probably going to ruminate over what other people think of you, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, I wonder, what are they thinking of me? You're going to waste time and take it away from productive activities that you could be doing. You're going to doubt yourself, and you're probably going to question yourself. And you might say, do I need to do things differently? Or do I need to change something about me? What's wrong with me? And you're going to play small. You're going to want to stay in the shadows and stay in the background. As a result of all of those actions, the reality is that you're not really liking you. You're so worried about what other people are thinking about you that you're not liking yourself. So the big takeaway from this example here is that the energy, the paranoia, and the anxiety, they don't come from the fact that you weren't invited. They come from the thought, I wonder if they like me. On the next slide, I'm going to offer you a different thought. And we'll walk through the STEER emotional framework, and I'll show you how the reality can be different. You could think to yourself, it's okay, no big deal. I'm good with me. If they don't want me there, it's fine, because I like my own company. That kind of belief is probably going to generate energy that might feel unstoppable. It might amp you up. The actions you're going to take as a result of that energy, well, you're going to move forward. You're certainly not going to dwell about what other people think about you. You're going to utilize your strengths and keep moving forward. You're going to set goals and you're going to keep moving toward them because you're not going to let other people stop you. You're going to continue to evolve and be yourself. And the reality that creates for you in your life is that the more you're liking yourself, the more you have to offer to the world. And in this case, if you could believe, you know what, they're not my people, it's okay, I'm not going to take it personally because I'm good with me, that allows you to move on. It allows you more opportunity in life. You're going to evolve and grow and offer more things ultimately. So again, on the last slide and on this slide, the energy always comes from the thinking. Once again, that's why it's so important to understand what is it I'm thinking up here? What are my thoughts and beliefs? Because those propagate your reality for you. This is a great tool you can use at any point in time in your life, and it only applies to you, and it applies to your thoughts, your energy, your actions, your situation. So you can always start by filling in a thought or an emotion, and then fill in the rest of the spots and see what it gets you. Now let's go over what we learned today. Whole bunch of stuff. Number one, okay, we started with indecision. You cannot make decisions from negative feelings and expect to get positive results out of it. Okay, it doesn't work that way. If you do get a positive result, chances are it'll probably be temporary and not long-term. Number two, we talked about people pleasing. People pleasing is when we seek outward validation. We seek validation from people outside of us instead of seeking validation from inside. So people pleasing stems from wanting that outward validation instead of the internal. So what I do is I teach people how to generate that internal validation for themselves so that you don't have to depend on other people for validation, because guess what? Other people are really good at letting you down. Number three, we talked about self-confidence. What I want you to know is that discomfort is the key to self-confidence and to making your dreams come true. If you're trying something for the first time, if you're thinking about trying something for the first time, whether it's putting a video out there on YouTube, whether it's applying for and accepting a new job, whether it's maybe going back to school and it makes you feel nervous and jittery and you question yourself, then what I want you to know is that you're doing it right. That's actually a really good thing because it means you're not stagnant. Okay, when we stay comfortable, we stay stagnant, and we don't want that. Stagnation leads to unhappiness. Number 4, I taught you the STEER emotional framework. Apply it to your life for situational awareness and for self-awareness. At the bottom, I'd like to wrap it up with this statement. The more that you all live in fear, the less you're going to live in life. That is the way it works, I promise. So learn how to embrace fear. Learn how to embrace failure, or what I call failing forward. And failing, by the way, is another one of those things we're taught in life. Since we're little children, we're taught failing is bad, right? You shouldn't fail. And I'm teaching you the opposite. Failure is actually a good thing. Failure is actually necessary for you to grow and to create self-confidence. My very last slide, I want to leave you with this quote. Life is not about what the future brings to you. It's about what you bring to it. What kind of mentality, what kind of experiences, what kind of skills are you bringing to your future? That's what really matters. I hope at this point that your brain is breaking out in a sweat, just like this picture. And let me tell you, there are a lot of things I left out in this presentation for the sake of time and also for the sake of not overwhelming you too much. However, I would encourage you to watch the replay as many times as it takes, because a lot of this is probably new for most of you. And I have a feeling a lot of you are, your brains might be sweating a little bit, and that's good. That's a good thing. So thank you very much. If you want to send me a note, questions or comments, if you want to have a meet and greet, my email is gina@deliberatedoing.com. I also encourage you to check out my website, which is deliberatedoing.com. I have a lot of free content on there. I have self-help videos. I have a career blog. I have an events page that will allow you to register for future events just like this. I try to do a couple webinars every month, so you never know what I'll be posting next time. So check my events page often. I've also got a page that outlines a course that I'm teaching right now. It's called Overcoming Career Constraints. It's a personal development course that will help you develop yourself as a person, as a human, to equip you to be able to go out there and create that great job that you would like to have. That's the premise behind my course. And I teach all sorts of things. Self-confidence and indecision are in there too. But you can check out the outline on my website. And also, if you're interested in free coaching, send me a note and let me know. I always give free coaching up front to anybody who is interested. Whether it's on a personal level or you're suffering in your professional life, or if you just want an unbiased sounding board. It's great to talk to friends and family, but sometimes they just don't understand where you're coming from, or sometimes they're biased and they want you to lean in a certain direction. And as a life coach, I'm always unbiased. My opinion stays out of it. It's always about you and how I can help guide you to where you want to go.